Hey guys, we are almost done our summer direction crochet along. You can see that we have already done some chevrons, some arrows, more chevrons, other arrows, chevrons again, different arrows again. We're essentially done. I mean, this is basically the whole thing. All we're doing is, you can see how when we started, this was the chevron section and there's like these foundation rows. Now all we're doing is mirroring that so that it has the same on the top. And that's literally 2 rows. That's it. And I call it top border lines because I didn't really know what else to call it, but I wanted to be thorough. So I'm going to do the video for these top border lines, and then we're going to talk about what to do with these tails. If you're just joining for whatever reason, you don't know what I'm talking about, my summer direction crochet along, I have lots of other videos that goes over all these other pieces. We did them together. This is overlay mosaic, so that's why there's all these tails. I did have this crochet along also in interlocking crochet, so there's another video, well, a whole series of video to do this one. So you should check them out. Pick your favorite tutorial, learn how to do one of the techniques, then find the playlist for that one, and then you can make this whole thing. Now this, you can see it's very skinny, and this is just one repeat. Ideally, you would probably be making, I mean, this is nice too as a scarf, but ideally I originally wanted it to be a blanket, which I might still do. I might still make a blanket as well, or I might just find a new pattern to keep working on because that's what I like to do, bigger and better. So anyways, here we are. If you are new to this, this isn't the video to start with, okay? If you have been following along, then you can do this video. We are on row 161. Odd number rows means we're using our accent color, which is our lighter color. For me, it's this light blue. We're going to do our joining stitch right on the edge there. Then we have 4 single crochets, which is different than we're used to. Normally, we'd be making those border lines, right? But this one, because we want it to match, it's actually going to be making that purple line. We're going to make the purple line all the way across. So we didn't do a drop down to keep this border line. And then if you look at the repeat section, it says also single crochets. And then when you get to these border lines, also single crochets. So like really, you don't have to count. Everything is just a single crochet. And of course we are doing overlay mosaic crochet, which means it's all in the back loops, which by this point you should know. I'm just really telling those people who are showing up for whatever reason to this final video in the series and going, what is this series all about? And I'll say, well, this is the end. So if you don't know, go to the beginning. But if you want to watch the whole video and you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe my little blurps will help. I don't know. So just to be thorough, I'm showing you how to do these back loop only stitches all the way across. I can't believe how long it took me to do all these videos. I try really hard to balance family life with crochet. I can crochet a lot while I watch the kids play their games, jump around, be loud. Outside at the park, I take my crochet. I do it while they're watching TV in the basement. I do it right beside the stove while I'm cooking. You know, you like crochet, stitch, and stir. I crochet all the time. But crocheting for the video, that is a different story. So here we go. We got the end of the row. If you're counting, you are at the end of yours. We're going to finally put that stitch under both loops for the end stitch. That's why I had to stop my stories. But that's the end of that row. Okay, now we have one more row. It's very exciting. It's almost the same, except for we're going to keep that dark purple line on both sides. So row 162 is the final row to our blanket or scarf or whatever you're making. And we're going to start, of course, with the joining stitch under both loops. Then we're going to do the drop down just to keep that purple one. So the purple line goes around the whole outside of the blanket. It doesn't matter how many repeats you do, it'll be around the whole outside. And then everything else, I mean, you can count them if you want, but everything else is a single crochet in the back loop only, of course. Making the videos, like I was saying, because I can, it takes me a lot longer because I have to have a house that's quiet. And with 3 little kids, that doesn't happen very often. It either means that Dad has taken everybody out for a walk to the park and I've chosen to stay home. And I don't always choose to stay home. Sometimes I choose to go to the park because Nobody was waiting for me to make these videos, only me. I was the only one saying, oh, I wish I was faster. And I kind of thought that it might take me a month to do all the videos, and it took me like three months or so. Yeah, I think that's about how long it's been. So for me, it was feeling like the pressure, like, come on, get it done faster, but it's okay. Nobody cares. Do you care? If you care, I'm sorry, but I don't care. I mean, I care a little bit because it was annoying to always have these on my to-do list. Now, if you're counting, you can see this is the line we want to do. You can also see this is our final stitch, so we're going to do it right here. I definitely didn't count because what's the point? But you can count if you want to. Then we still have to do our end stitch to lock it in tight. And I still cut it. And that's the end. So that is it. That's the whole thing. We just added those 2 lines. So now the border line matches the beginning, the way that started. That is why. My piece is very curly. I hope yours isn't so horribly curly, but some blocking is supposed to fix that. And an envelope border. So that's one of the options. If you were doing, I know mine is just regular mosaic, overlay mosaic. So the back is striped. There are different techniques where people lock in those stitches. People drop it down in the back and then it creates like a reversible thing. There are some people, instead of cutting their tails, they go this way and then they turn their work, right? Like there's so many options out there, and I'm sure multiple designers have put up videos for those types of things. Maybe someday I will too, but so far I've just been focused on other things, so I didn't bother. And one of the options with these tails, if you make them longer, there's like a little tool. So I bought this thing. It's a hair thing. It's like a braider. It doesn't work if you're this short. I mean, if this isn't the plan, so that's why I didn't make them longer. But if you had longer ones, you would just take them, you put them in there, and then you spin it. Isn't that funny? And it spins these really tight, and then it shows you here the arrow. So I would spin this. And because of the way the fibers work, when you spin things one direction and then spin them the other direction and blah, 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 oh, it didn't work. My things are too short. But anyways, it twists them together. That's the point of that. I bought it, and so far I've decided it's too fiddly and annoying, and I don't actually like to use it. So it takes me just as long to do that to all the tails. I mean, it doesn't work when they're short, but I did make a different project, long tails, and now I'm probably just going to trim them anyways because I just don't like it. So you can leave them like this. You could, if they're longer, especially, it's hard when they're short. There's not that many options. I like them short because I plan on encasing them in an envelope border. But you can make little knots. If you put a knot at the end, it'll stop it from unraveling all the way. It'll only unravel this much, right? So that's an option. Or you can do some sort of fancy braid between these. There's so many things. What I'm going to do is trim them, because I'm going to put an envelope border on, and I don't need them to be quite so long. You don't want to trim them too close because they could still come unraveled in the envelope border. The envelope border is literally like an envelope where you crochet a front wall and a back wall, and then you sew the walls together, essentially. So you're not really doing anything to the tails. I've seen other people, they do fancy stitches and they cover these with their thick stitches. That's an option too. On a scarf width, or whatever we're calling this, table runner, scarf, if I was doing an actual scarf, I would pick a pattern that puts the tails on this end, right? So if you actually look at my Ravelry or Etsy, and I have scarf patterns, they have the design being really long this direction, because then the tails are here, and that looks normal for a scarf, in my opinion. This doesn't look like a scarf to me. The tails are on the wrong spot. So this is not my favorite step. I prefer interlocking crochet. I know some people, they refuse to do overlay mosaic for this reason right here. All these silly tails, right? They're really, if you think of it as an extra step and it feels like it's too much extra work, that's, I think, the problem. You have to change your thinking. It's not really an extra step. It's just how mosaic crochet is. Mosaic crochet has fringe on the edges. It's just like if you were, I don't know, do you sew? Do you bake? If you bake any cake, let's say we just had a bunch of birthdays here. Now you know when I'm finishing these videos. It's August. We just had my husband's birthday. And if I was baking a cake for him and I baked a cake and it takes 30 minutes or something, and then I go, oh my goodness, now we can't even eat it because it's too hot. Well, of course it's too hot. That's what happens when you bake a cake. Now you're going to have to wait a little bit for it to cool down. And that's what this is. Now we're just waiting for it to cool down. We have to finish the final step. It's just how overlay mosaic goes. And you can see I'm being very exact. I'm not. That's my lie. Sarcasm? Sarcasm. They're getting covered in an envelope border, so I don't actually need them to be the same length. It's not like fringe for a wall hanging. For fringe for a wall hanging, I'm a little bit more careful. I'm just trimming them because I don't need to have that much bulk in the envelope border. And if I was being really careful while I was crocheting, I probably didn't need to leave the tails so long that they needed to be trimmed, right? But I'll put this stuff in a bag, and when I do some stuffed animals, I'll use it to stuff my little animals. Not that big of a deal in my opinion. Sometimes it feels like a big deal, but it's really not. So if you've seen my other videos with the instructions on how to do an envelope border, what I do is a double crochet envelope border, and I go around all 4 edges. And this, I just wanted to show you another variation of an envelope border, because sometimes I don't want to do all 4 edges. It's not so difficult here where it's only this wide, but like on a blanket, when you have this nice edge, I just don't see the point of covering it. I mean, sometimes it looks nicer if they're all even, so that would be the point. But for me, I guess I'm sometimes a little bit lazy. Shh, don't tell everybody. But I don't want to do all of the sides all the time. So instead, I just do it on the tail edges. And I'd start with a slip knot, and you can do it single crochet or double crochet. I'm just going to do single crochet here because my other video shows double crochet, so I just figured I'll show you both, okay? And the hardest part is really figuring out where to start. And I just like to take the front loop. You can see that we have a little knot. Then we have, this was our joining and end stitch, right? Lines up. And then this one would be right above all of these double crochets that made my outside border. On other designers' things, they might not have a line like that, so you'll have to just count the stitches. So essentially what I want to do is be putting my envelope border right along here so that this alternating stitch is covered as well as the tail. So I'm anchoring it right in between those 2 stitches. And on the beginning here, this is your top stitch, I'm going to take the front loop only because I'm going to leave that back loop for the back side of the envelope. So we're just going to do a single crochet right onto there. And then the hard part is finding out, well, where do we go next? So if you think of this like, okay, I took the purple, now I need to take the blue. And it kind of looks like, sometimes it can be hard to find out which stitches. So this is like the top line of that. You can take either the top or you can go even farther, and you have to kind of go under all of these purple things. You can see my hook keeps popping out. There's a second line that's like the bottom of it. So it's up to you how finicky you want to be. My biggest piece of advice is to be consistent. Okay, so if you figure out, okay, this is the stitch I'm going to use that lines up so that you have 1 single crochet or 1 double crochet for each row, then you should be golden. And if you find it's getting too wavy, you can go down a hook size or up a hook size depending on your tension. I know like people just put a blanket statement like go up a hook size, but really some people need to go down. Some people need to go up. You can also change what you're picking up here. Okay, so this is how I'm going to do mine. I go under the blue and then I kind of hook so that this purple, you can see how it kind of makes like a hole. So I want to go through that hole and then I just slip the purple over it. And that's how I decide where to come out. And I grab my yarn and I do the single crochet. Then I follow that yarn back under, and this time I'm only grabbing purple stuff. So there's that hole again. I want to go under it, and I'm also kind of interested in keeping that hole smushed together. It's where the double crochet is picking up the top loop. So that's my reasoning behind using that as the anchor. So you got to find anchors that work. Follow that line back down. So now I'm going to grab the blue, and it pops up out of that hole, and then I just slip it over. That's how I've been doing it. And it is sometimes easier if you use a yarn that is not one of your colors. So I have blue and purple. You could use pink or something. Then you would know what yarn you're looking at, right? And some people suggest to start with the wrong side or start with the right side. I like to start here like this on the right side because I want to make sure that all my stitches are going to look nice on the front. And then when I go around and I do the back, I can see where my stitches have already gone. So that's why I start it this way. And it is a long process for me. This is not quick. This is not easy necessarily. I mean, it's not hard. It's just that there's fiddling. You have to move things around, and you have to kind of pay attention to where your stitches are going. When I'm just doing single crochets, I could practically do it with my eyes closed. This one, not so much. So I'm not actually going to show you a video of me going all 200 stitches or whatever this is, because that's just too many. I'm just going to show you a couple here, and then I'll turn the camera off and get to the end and show you what I do. But I think you can see what I've done here. Just to be consistent, I pick up purple, then I pick up blue, right? And that's how I figure out where to put my hook. And I think these are consistent with other designers. I think this is called a surface single crochet. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's essentially what we're doing, is a surface single crochet. And that gets us a nice line that'll be going all the way down here. So we're going to go all the way down. I'll come back to the video in a minute. Hey guys, I wanted to show you an example of, this is where I did the envelope border only on the edges where the tails would be, because this yarn is very old, discontinued. It was in a random stash given to me. Absolutely no way I could get more yarn. And I wanted to finish this off nicely without running out. So that is why I only put it on the edges where I had the fringe. And essentially I did the double crochet, and then you don't cut or anything, and you just keep going around to the other side. Chain, go around, right? So that is what I'm doing here. That's what I'm going to show you. Okay, so I did all the way down the line, and now I'm just nearing the end, so I want to show you what I do. So I have a couple stitches left. This is the blue one. Then this is the purple one. Blue again. Purple again. You know, that's how it goes. We're almost there. So the very bottom, the purple one, you have two options. You can go around the whole thing like this, and then essentially you'll just be doing it again on the other side. I like to give myself a little bit more yarn to play with, so I go in, but then I just come up in between a stitch. I guess it makes it a little more fiddly, but then it gives me room. I'm doing a single crochet, so that when I flip it, I have some, I guess, space to work in. So now you can see that there's somewhere for me to go. I'm going to not do any extra chaining or anything. I'm just going to go in the back. And I got to bring my yarn over here and do single crochet. And now you can see these are all the little loops that we've done. So that tells me where I go. And I try to stay on essentially the outer edge of the loop, because that part is going to be covered. Right now this is going to be your envelope. It'll be like a wall. So this is just going to be covered anyways. So that's where now I'm going to have to go back all the way and do it on the back side. And remember, you can do this a double crochet as well. You would just loop yarn over, and then it just automatically, you can finish your double crochet, right? And oh, I think I already put away I already put away that placemat that I had made. My Peaceful Birds placemat on the edges, I did double crochet, but it is very small yarn. I think it's a fingering weight yarn, whereas this is a medium for worsted weight. So you can see more gaps, I suppose, which is why single crochet is usually preferred, but I get lazy. I do double on a lot of my stuff. And you're just going to be doing 1 for 1 again. So follow it under, single crochet, and then follow it under, single crochet. That's it, all the way up and down your piece. Okay, you can see I've done the single crochet all along the back now. I did the front before. Now I come around and done the back. I'm just going to show you how I join things here. I just have a few more stitches that I will put in here. So this is the last blue one, which means I just have that purple one to go. When I first did that on this side, I just grabbed the front loop, right? So this time I can go, you can kind of see, it's very hard to tell what to grab, but the important part is just that you grab something. I know a lot of you are going to say, that's not good enough, I need it to be perfect. And I'm really, that's my big takeaway, is that it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to work. Okay, so you can see this is where we started. These are the ones. So this is the stitch here. So I'm just gonna join, keeping those tails inside because I want the tail to be, we're slip stitching it there. I'm not adding stitches, I just want it to match up so that when I single crochet 1 to go in here, it's up to you how you do your edges. It's just like every other crochet thing where some people have wobbly edges and not. I wonder if I can show you that better. Okay, so this is how we started. This is the tail from the piece. This is the tail from that border. So when I'm finished here, I still need 1 in the back for the purple, and you can find 1 loop and do like a back loop single crochet, and then you don't need to add any stitches for the turn. You just find that first stitch that you had done and slip stitch them together. This is probably the annoying part of it all, really. Anytime you have to join things, it can get a little wonky. I slip stitch them together, and then I chain 1, and I'm actually, you can kind of see, this is the one I had slip stitched into, so that's where I'm going to put my first single crochet. And then I'm going through just like a normal single crochet. I'm not doing back loops, front loops, just both loops, single crochet. And if you were feeling like single crochet is taking too long, you can do double crochet. And I'm going to do double because I want to. Although when I do doubles, so this is where I slip stitched. So my starting, I'm going to do a single crochet, and then I'm just going to pick up that loop. I don't know what this is called, like an alternate double crochet, just keeps it thick. So now I'm just going to do double crochet because it'll get me, it's much faster for me to do double crochet as opposed to 2 rows of single crochet. And I did see a YouTube somewhere where they were comparing the yarn usage, and even though you can get the same coverage doing 2 rows of single crochet versus 1 row of double crochet, this one apparently uses less yarn. So I don't know, I have plenty of yarn, that's really not a concern of mine, but it's faster for me. That's the real thing. I get bored when I do the same thing over and over again. So that's all it is. I used that single crochet as the starting stitch. You can keep going single crochets, double crochets. I think if I do a double crochet this side, and then it will go all the way around again, and then I'll have double crochet on this side, I think that'll be tall enough for me to then sew it together so that I really only have to do one more row. I don't really like doing rows and rows and rows. That's the real issue. I'm lazy, right? So I'm going to do that. Every single stitch that we did a single crochet into, I'm now putting a double crochet in, and I'm going to go all the way around, and I will not make you watch 10 hours of that. I mean, it doesn't actually take me 10 hours, but I'll pause my video here and have a nice little cut. Okay, I've done the whole front. I'm just getting to the end here, and you can see that I'm still just doing the stitches as they are. That would be the final purple on the front, and then you can follow it. It feels a little bit like it's on the side, but it's really the first one on the back. I guess if you wanted to count them, that's fine, but I just follow the stitches and I just keep going around. I don't do anything fancy for the side. I just follow the single crochets that I had from before, and I keep going. And I thought I'd just show you that because, I don't know, I like to be thorough, I guess. Anyways, that makes the side. You can see, well, maybe there's not enough stitches, but you can see that this is going to be the envelope that we're going to close everything in there. I'm going to keep going. Okay, I'm almost to the end of the double crochet envelope border. Is that what I'm calling it? I'm pretty sure that this is tall enough. You could keep going, or if you wanted to do single crochet, that's when they can get those fancy borders in. They actually turn the border into more mosaic. So they would do single crochet, and then the next row would be single crochet in the back loop only, so that it leaves those front loops for your drop downs, right? And that's how they get fancy designs in the borders. I haven't done one of those yet. It's on my to-do list, but for now I've just done the simple envelope. So you can see this was our first one. It's right here. So I finished here, and now I'm just gonna slip stitch this one. And that is the envelope. I guess it's barely tall enough, right? Like those would be stuffed in there pretty tight. So I guess I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go around again. And should I do a double or single? I think a double again. I'm going to keep going. So I have my envelope here. You can see that the front and the back are on here. And I'm just about at the end. So that's it. I go through these loops, I slip stitch them together, and that will be the envelope border on the side without doing, if you had a blanket, it would make more sense. This is a little bit silly because there's only one repeat, but 9 repeats, I don't feel like covering up nothing, doing an envelope border to cover nothing. So that's just how I do my stuff. And I will show you a picture in a moment. It's going to take me longer than a moment, but the magic of the camera. Okay, so I sewed up all of this. Well, not sewed, but slip stitched. And I got to the end here, and I don't know if you can see it, but somehow I have 3 stitches left. And they sort of feel like there's 2 in the front and 1 in the back. So I thought I would just show how I fix that when I come across that. I still do the back loop, and then I just grab the next one as well, the back loop, and then that loop that I was looking for here, I just grab all 3 and I go through all 3 of them, and that takes care of that problem. Easy peasy. And you don't have to do much with your tail, because as long as you have a good knot, you can hide it inside. But that is how it looks on the edges. Now, it is kind of pulling my work because it's stretchy. once I get the other side on, it'll fix that. And it has fixed that curl, so it's very heavy. If this was a blanket, I think that heavy piece would be really nice. As a table runner, I'm sure it'll work as well. As a scarf, I don't think I would like it. I mean, maybe that's not what I'm supposed to say as a designer. I'm supposed to give you all the wonderful options and you're supposed to love them all. But honestly, I don't think this really works as a scarf because the tails are on the side and a scarf should have tails on the edge. So, table runner, yes. If you did more repeats, any number of things. Heavy envelope border if you like. You can have some other options as well. But that is basically what our finished piece looks like. So I hope you enjoy the videos. Let me know if you do. And if you absolutely hate them, you might not have to tell me, okay? Maybe? I mean, I can take a little bit of criticism, but sometimes it just is too much. So that is it. Summer Direction Cal.